This episode is brought to you by Hinge Consulting. If you're doing business on Amazon and you need to overcome the obscurity of that marketplace, Hinge Consulting will lay out the game plan that works best for your business. HingeConsulting.co. Success hinges on well-executed strategies. Hinge Consulting delivers on them.
Hey Thrive Loud listeners, this is Allie.
This is Kayla.
And this is Kelsey. And we're the trio that really gets things done here on Thrive Loud.
We have a great episode coming up today, but first we need your support.
For starters, please subscribe to Thrive Loud on either iTunes or Overcast.
If you're an iTunes listener, give us a rating and write what you like about the show.
And if you're an Overcast listener, make sure to click that little gold star to recommend our show.
If you want to learn more about future episodes, upcoming guests, and other great things happening with Thrive Loud,
go to thriveloud.com and fill out the Get Connected form at either the top or bottom of the page.
Thanks again, and let's get on with the show.
Today on Thrive Loud.
Meeting people and learning about their stories, people who inspire me, other entrepreneurs. I love hearing those stories and sitting down, having a beer with people and saying, well, how did you get to there? How'd you make that decision in your career?
Now I'm getting really excited. Okay, this is the part where I'm going to get loud.
Holy crap, here we go.
I like telling stories.
I learn best through experiences.
Everything I do is because of everything I did.
Talk about having maximum impact while having a ton of fun.
When you can net through that, what you do leave behind for your listener will have more impact.
Wow, bring it on.
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. I'm your host, Lou Diamond. Today on Thrive Loud, I bring you the founder and CEO of Credible Labs, Inc., known to most of you as Credible.com, Mr. Stephen Dash. Stephen, how are you today?
Doing well, Lou. Nice to talk with you.
It's first of all, we're going to jump in here. Stephen is one heck of a businessman, a great story, has an amazing company. We're going to dive into that. We're also going to dive into his incredible accent, which we're definitely going to talk about here on the show. So with all of that, Stephen, I'd love to have just to pass the baton right to you as we begin. If you can give us a little bit of a journey on how you started Credible, and we'll start with that, and then we'll let the conversation flow from there. How does that sound?
Sure, sounds good. And I confuse a lot of people with the accent because I have a New York phone number. I live in San Francisco, but I have an Australian accent. So glad to get that clarified early in the piece.
You are the global man, and you sound spectacular. So if I could bottle some of that and have it come out every once in a while, I wish I could. So, anyway, tell us. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so the journey started about 5 years ago when Credible was founded at the end of 2012. I moved over from Australia to start the company. My background was in financial services in Australia, so I had about 5 years at JP Morgan in the FIG, so the Financial Institutions Group, doing M&A and ECM and capital raisings and advising big companies and understanding how financial institutions worked. And then I had a couple of years with a sort of venture capital / private equity fund in Australia and saw all sorts of great deals and met great people. But really, I wanted to be on the operator side, and I did have a stint in between JP Morgan and the venture fund where I ran a company in Australia, totally unrelated to fintech and financial services, but gave me a taste of what it's like to be an entrepreneur, and I wanted to really get back to that side of the house. And I looked at Australia and I looked at the US, and I basically decided that it was better to be an entrepreneur in the US in terms of the dynamics or the balance between being an investor and being an entrepreneur in both countries. And so I set upon sort of starting to research opportunities in an area that I knew a little bit about, which was financial services, and the rest is sort of history. But I saw an opportunity in the student loan category, specifically in the US. And so I moved over in 2012 to start the company, Credible.com, which helps recent graduates, at the time anyway, helped recent graduates refinance their student loans by accessing multiple offers from multiple lenders the same way you would use Kayak or Priceline to access flights and hotels.
So let me jump in there for a quick second, Steve. So I understand this. There are a lot of different ways, financial sites that help you select different choices and the best of breed of what's out there for you to choose. What does Credible.com do, and why is it so specifically different from anything else that's out there?
Yeah, so what's out there is basically a whole series of lead gen sites. And if anyone's used some of those sites, oftentimes people can be a little frustrated because they're given a rate range or they're given a rate as low as. I saw that, and we saw that as something that wasn't as consumer friendly as it could be. So what we innovated on, and what's really core to the offering that we provide, is that we're giving consumers accurate rates and accurate rates in real time. So in other words, you come to the site, you fill out 10 or 12 questions, and we're able to present to you a rate that is personalized to your individual situation from multiple lenders, and we're able to do so in real time without impacting your credit. So the analogy I typically use is, if you went to a travel site and the travel site told you, hey, here's 3 different airlines that can fly you from SFO to JFK, and they said that it's going to cost you between $150 and $450, you wouldn't go back to that site very often because you could drive a truck through that range. What's important is people on those travel sites are giving you the exact price that you would get for that flight. And that's akin to what we do. So we're giving you the exact price to 2 decimal places that you would receive from the lenders that participate on our platform in real time. So 30 seconds after you're on our site, you have access to the information that allows you to make the right decision.
Oh, that's great. And by the way, this couldn't have been a more timely discussion because I have a son that's actually about to go to college starting in the fall of this year. And you see what the dollar signs are for this. So I totally understand the perspective of student loans and debt that might be incurred during this period of time. So this is interesting because you obviously are targeting, because of the age of the people who are students, you have a big target towards millennials. Can you talk about how millennial consumers are looking at the market and what they care about specifically as it relates to financial services?
Sure. So our marketplace today, in the early days, we started with the student loan refinancing product. We've since launched a student loan origination product. So, for example, you may be a customer. Parents are, more than half of the customers that use our platform for the in-school product or the student loan origination product. We have a personal loans platform where you can see multiple offers from multiple lenders when it comes to personal loans. So, refinancing refinancing credit card debt or making a major purchase. And then we just launched last year a credit card marketplace where consumers can compare various options for credit cards, whether they're looking to maximize rewards or minimize the interest rate that they're paying on credit cards. So we have a broad a broad set of products available on our platform. But you're right to say that we have focused on millennials, and millennials are different in terms of how they acquire financial services products and what they expect from the user experience. So this is the generation that grew up, as our mutual friend Ron Suba would say, grew up in the I generation, iPhones, used to shopping on Amazon, used to getting things immediately. And so a big part of the product or the user experience from our perspective is being able to give people the utility of what they're looking for in real time and then helping them through the process. So giving them real-time offers of credit and then a concierge-style user experience through to the actual origination. Because what they care about is getting their student loan or refinancing their student loan or getting the right credit card and then moving on with their life. So it's different to the previous generation of baby boomers who are more likely to want to really understand the dynamics of each of the features of the products that they're looking to compare and probably want to speak to someone on the phone. Millennial generation, while some of them do want to speak on the phone, a lot of them would prefer to do it via text and would prefer to do it on their phone and do it really, really quickly. So we're building our products around that millennial audience and making sure that we're delivering on their expectations for a user experience, given what they're used to with Amazon and Kayak and the iPhone, etc.
Stephen, help me understand a little bit from when you started the company in 2012 to where we are today, 2018. What is, as leading the company that you have right now, what's been the growth specifically of Credible.com to this date? I mean, how big is the organization, and what you started with to where you are today?
There's a couple of different metrics that I use to describe the growth. So we started as one person, and we started in an apartment in San Francisco, and worked from a couch in a coffee shop for the first sort of 6 months. Today we're about 120 employees. Our head office is in downtown San Francisco in Jackson Square. We've built a platform that started as a simple idea around student loan refinancing. We now have 4 product categories on the platform. We've built a really deep user experience. So we effectively are part of 90% of the origination process on the student loan side of things. So we're really helping borrowers through the process, and there's a whole series of potential paths someone could go if they have a co-signer who might be their parent. If they don't have a co-signer, if they're a grad student, if they're an undergrad student, if they're looking to refi, if they've got a complex situation, etc. So I describe our technology and the user experience and the product that we've built as like what you see on the website is sort of the tip of the iceberg, but there's a lot of complexity underneath that we've built in order to really customize user experiences for the audience that we serve. In terms of funded loan volume, we've originated over $1 billion of loan volume across our categories over our 5-year life, and the majority of that has occurred in the last couple of years. So, I'm really proud of the team that we've built. Our executive team is extremely strong. Our CMO is the former CMO of Esurance. His name is Alan Gelman. Our VP of Engineering is the former VP of Engineering at Hotwire, which is obviously a marketplace in the travel world, Jay Vajan. Colin Bowman, who leads product, was previously a big part of the Yahoo homepage and led a good portion of product there. So and then of course Dave Lewis. I should also can't forget the other member of the team who leads our partnerships and is responsible for leading our marketing partnerships and our lender partnerships. And so really proud of the team, particularly the executive team that we've built over time. And we actually IPO'd our company on the Australian Securities Exchange in December 2017, which was a big milestone for us, but ultimately another round of capital and not an exit, really just an alternate way of funding the company. So that was a big milestone for us, and we've had to sort of grow up as a company as far as internal controls and audit and compliance, et cetera, as a result of that process.
Right. So I'm going to dig in here, and obviously the accent has helped alleviate some of the question in this, but why specifically did you IPO on the ASX out in Australia? What was the reason for going there, maybe as opposed to something in the States with the company starting here?
There's a couple of reasons that drove the decision that was ultimately made by our board to list the company on the ASX. And in no particular order, we're too small. Our market capitalization right now is about $280 million US. We're too small to list on the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange. Typically, you've got to be at least $1 billion in valuation to list on the US exchanges. The Australian Securities Exchange, which is the main exchange down in Australia, so it's a very large exchange. It's a top 10 in the world. It is not a secondary exchange. It's the main exchange that we've listed on. Is really making a play to be kind of like the junior NASDAQ, the junior technology exchange globally. And there's a whole series of factors that have influenced that strategy for the ASX. My expectation is we're going to start to see a lot more companies who are looking at not will I IPO in the US versus Australia, but will I take private capital or will I take public capital on the ASX? And so they're really making a push, and there's a handful of examples of companies that have listed in the last really 3 or 4 years down in Australia. Some of them will be well known in the US. Xero is probably a good one, the accounting software firm here in the Bay Area. A multi-billion-dollar company that's listed down there. So there's a bit of a push there from the Australian Securities Exchange. And then my background, I've worked in capital markets in Australia for about a decade before I started Credible here in the US. So I understand those markets. And the majority of our investors pre-IPO were based in Australia. So it's a combination of all of those factors that really our decision was about, do we take more private capital, in the US or in Asia, or do we look to this alternative? And ultimately, the alternative gives us a lot of flexibility, and the board made a decision to pursue that path. So we're really excited to be a newly listed company on the Australian Securities Exchange. It turns out, and we didn't know this when we went into the process, that it was the largest technology IPO in 2017.
Oh, wow.
We raised about 70 million Australian dollars. And it was the second largest US company to list in Australia in the last 3 or 4 years. So it was there's demand for what we're doing, and obviously having the right investors on the register, which we feel really confident about, and really happy with the results. So a great experience and a really important milestone for the company.
No, and congrats on that, and that's awesome. And it's really funny because we kind of come from similar parts. I came from Wall Street as well, more from the fixed income debt side. You came from that equity ECM side. I was more closer to the DCM side. And now looking at it now, from when the world you came from to what you're doing today with that entrepreneurial piece, how does it feel running this company now? Like looking at this ride that you've been on and having great success. You've IPO'd on an exchange, the company's growing. It continues to get more relevant every single day in how people are thinking about loans and the millennials you're connecting with. Stephen, how does it feel right now at this particular space, and where do you see it going? Not just where you see the company for you going, where do you see the space going over the next several years?
I'm really energized now. I had to have a little bit of a break at the end of last year after a pretty hectic 6 months, but I feel extremely energized.
Understood.
Very excited about our prospects. And I've said it pretty much every year at our holiday party that I couldn't be more excited about what's to come for Credible. And it's been a genuine, I couldn't be more excited each year. So we've been very fortunate. And our fortune is a result of, being well prepared and being thoughtful in our strategy. And our success is not a function of just me. It's certainly not. It's a function of our team. It's a function of our investors, our board, our advisors, our partners, our lending partners and our marketing partners. So it's really been a team effort, and I get energy from our team here, from our partners, from our board and advisors and investors. I see, if it's a 100-meter or 100-yard race, in terms of how the intermediary space is playing out in financial services, I think we're still at the 10 or 15-yard line in what is significant change that is occurring, broadly in fintech, but even more specifically in lending and how consumers consume financial services products. So I think we're in a period of rapid change. I think there'll be multiple winners in the space that we operate in the intermediated space. And I think we have a really unique angle at which we're coming at the problem, and a really unique value proposition to consumers, which, again, I'm just super excited about. We have now resources to execute on our plan. We have excellent people around the table making great decisions. And there will be bumps in the road. There will be twists and turns. But I would say, I feel really energized, really excited about our prospects, about the prospects for the industry, and about the result that's going to have on consumers when it comes to making these really important decisions that can often become emotional. When you're graduating college or going to college or buying your first home, that human element is something that's not lost with us, and something that we always try and center ourselves on here at Credible.
It's great. And look, that's what it's about at the end of the day, that it's that uncertainty and hesitancy that people go through because it is scary. It's overwhelming at times. And to have a company that's focused on trying to make it less overwhelming and relate to it with great technology too is excellent. Stephen, I got a question that I ask just about all the Thrive Loud guests, and I'm very curious on this one because you have such an interesting background. When you have trouble thriving, which hasn't happened in quite some time, but I'm sure day to day, every now and then you probably do have some issues. Who do you turn to get yourself back on the thriving track? As I like to say, who is your sensei?
I have a couple of senseis, and I definitely, everyone has ups and downs, and you wake up on the wrong side of the bed in the morning. Of course, it happens, and things don't always go your way. I think it's important to center on what's the bigger picture. So I think there's a lot of self-reflection that people need to get in the habit of doing, and one of the things I've always thought about is making the most of time. Time is by far everyone's most precious asset, and making the most of time is something that I'm really passionate about. In terms of people that have helped me along the way, and people who I look up to, and people who have helped to guide on, big decisions, small decisions, someone just to talk to. I've been very fortunate to have great advisors around the table for this particular part of my life's journey, Credible, where our earliest investors, Simon and Dean, who were advisors to Credible and to me, and really helped me develop personally, but also helped develop the strategy for Credible in the early days, and how to really think about the challenges that we had along the way. And we had a lot. And in particular, Dean, who now sits on our board, was an early investor, has been a real source of strength for me in terms of having great experience and having an ability to really understand how I tick and what drives me and how to get me moving in the right direction. So Dean Durrell from Carthona Capital, I would put high on the list, and Simon Franks, who is one of our advisors as well, has really helped me along the way. And then more recently, Ron Suba, who is our chairman now, and invested in our Series A when we were a 25, 30 person company, and saw what we were doing. And he obviously sees the market and sees what everyone's doing in the market. And he saw something special in us and has joined our board, and he sits on only our board. He doesn't sit on the board of any other companies. And that to me was really important, really special, that Ron would spend so much time, and he does, it's not a figurehead role. He really does spend time with us and helps us. And that to me is inspiring as well, as far as someone who can, push you and point you in the right direction, but let you make the decision. I think that's the most important thing. So I'm very fortunate to have, a whole host of people, but those three really jump to the top of my mind when I think about who's really helped me personally along the journey.
It doesn't hurt to have the Godfather sitting over your shoulder for FinTech, and Ron, who's a friend of the Thrive Loud show and a listener as well. So I totally can see how he'd be an amazing guide and liaison to help with all the decisions that you have to go through. So for fun, and not that this isn't fun, because this has all been fun for all the great things that Credible has been doing. Talk to me, you personally, fun things that you like to do. You have a chance not to work, do something and blow things off, or you just were on vacation to just try to get yourself recharged. What are the things that Stephen Dash loves to do?
Well, I'm very fortunate that I'm going to be able to spend a little more time down in Australia. And if people haven't been to Australia, I don't work for Tourism Australia, but if people haven't been to Australia, they got to get down there, particularly when it's winter time over here. It's summer in Australia. I love nothing more than going for a swim on Bondi Beach in Sydney. Okay. And there's no better way to cure jet lag, that's for sure, than jumping in the water there. So I love to do that. I love skiing. I obviously love Credible, and I probably work too hard on the business outside of hours, but I really like, being active and that sort of stuff. And then meeting people and learning about their stories, people who inspire me, other entrepreneurs. I love hearing those stories and sitting down, having a beer with people and saying, well, how did you get to there? How'd you make that decision in your career? And I really appreciate, and it inspires me when people can balance, family and career. That's a really important one as well. So I really like to hear those stories about, well, how did you, build this company that has 600 or 700 people, yet your family life seems great as well. Like people who can balance that, I have a lot of respect for. So I like to be active, and I like to meet people and understand their story.
I love it. So, Stephen Dash, give us all the plugs. Give us all the places that we could find Credible, or you, or other things that we should be on the lookout for. This is your chance to plug away.
Really simple is credible.com. If you're looking for a student loan for yourself to go to undergrad or grad school, or you're a parent and your kids are going to school, check out credible.com. If you need to take out private student loans to fund the gap in the cost of education, which we know is increasing every year, you can check out credible.com for that. If you're a recent graduate or you're a parent with student loans for your kid, you can check out credible.com for student loan refinancing and get multiple competitive offers from multiple lenders. If you have credit card debt and you're looking to consolidate your credit card debt or make a major purchase or a home extension and you're looking for a personal loan, credible.com. And then if you're on the credit card side of things, if you're looking for the best rewards credit card for your particular circumstance, or you're looking to reduce the interest rate on your existing credit card, you can check out credible.com. So pretty straightforward. It's credible.com. We are listed in Australia, as I mentioned. Our ticker is CRD.ASX. There are restrictions on US investors investing into Australia. So this is not a solicitation for investors, but that's another place you can find information about the company.
Excellent. And we have a global listening base, so hopefully those in Australia will be able to check you out as well, or on the other side of the globe. This has been a lot of fun, and I have to ask this question because we know it's an important one here. Stephen Dash, your all-time favorite movie?
All-time favorite movie is Back to the Future Part 2.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask, why Part 2? And not dismissing how great the first one was or the second one. What is it specifically? Because you had sent that to me ahead of time, and I actually said I'm going to jump on this and ask why number 2.
Well, it's not. I mean, it's a bit of a misnomer because it's really in the future, and I think that's what appeals to me about it. The other two, you're going backward, but I just like the hoverboard. I think that's the coolest thing, and the idea of getting in, going to the future and seeing what it's like and all that sort of stuff. I guess it's a childhood thing for me, but I loved that movie.
That there was something really freaky about it. I don't know if you knew this. Recently, the Chicago Cubs had won the World Series, and there was a whole clip about the Cubs playing Miami or something like that, and there was a legitimate chance, and it was a couple of years off from what they had in the movie, but it was pretty close. So it's pretty amazing that they were able to to capture something in there. And of course, flying cars is always
always cool.
Who wouldn't love that?
Exactly.
Absolutely. Stephen Dash, this has been absolutely spectacular. We just blew right by this, and I'm going to make sure all the show notes are there for credible.com, links to you. And this has been a true pleasure to have you on the show.
Lou, thanks very much for having me. I enjoyed it a lot. Thank you.
And to all the Thrive Loud listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Thrive Loud. Or find us on the web at thriveloud.com.